It is recognized that blood is an environmental medium, suitable for the growth and reproduction of microorganisms. It carries out all the waste of the body, even in the case of animal health and life. Some of the microbes that, after slaughter, do not find anyone to resist them by fading out the effectiveness of the antibody from the antibodies. If we leave blood at normal temperature during 3 to 4 hours can spoil, let alone if it is in anaerobic conditions inside the muscle tissue. It will inevitably lead to the rapid spoilage of this meat, and its inability for human consumption, and by international standards, even for its inadequacy. The blood is stored in the slaughter in the Western way as a result of striking the animal with electric shock and the cow by striking the basilar bulb with a double think. In order to destroy the nervous motor and sensory centers in the animal. Congestion inside the corpse, especially when it is removed, we see superficial veins engorged. When slaughtering or cutting meat from the dead animals, the blood repels and comes out like springs, because it did not come out of them, because they were prevented from moving. Therefore, the readiness of the Western carcass should be slowed down from consumption, except after storing it in the refrigerator for 24 hours, in order to kill the germs in it and prevent its good reproduction in the blood environment. Therefore, cooking before 24 hours is prohibited. When stored, the meat will be charred and dark in color. In addition, the presence of blood in the meat of slaughtered animals with the modern technologies leads to its staining and corruption of its appearance, which makes it lose its commercial value, in addition to its rapid deterioration when stored, which causes economic harm to society. Therefore, what is the most appropriate way to get rid of these bloods? In order to maintain the quality of meat and to consume it well, thus preserving human health? What are the opinion of doctors and specialists regarding the survival of these germs and blood within the tissues of meat and the extent its impact on public health? What is the difference between the types of slaughter adopted in Western slaughterhouses and the Islamic slaughter or the halal zab? What is the difference between a merciful slaughter and brutal murder? 1. The use of the pistol and apply to the cows. This method leads to complete destruction of the brain and discourages the work of the heart, so the blood remains in the body without getting rid of it. It is also very painful and dangerous as an axe blow to the head. It is neither compassionate to animals nor healthy for humans. 2. Electric stunning. This method leads to discouragement of the brain and the work of the heart, neurogenic shock so the blood remains in the body without getting rid of it, and it leads to internal bleeding in the veins and capillaries and may lead to the death of the animal before. This bleeding affects the quality of meat, which loses its preservation value, and accelerates the process of its disintegration. The bleeding is also very painful. It is neither merciful to animals nor healthy for humans. 3. Hitting the animal's head with a sledgehammer in the head is a needle at the end that penetrates the brain. 4. Isolating the animal in a metallic rooms and suffocating with carbon dioxide. The pain is beyond description. It is the height of cruelty. Other methods are also cruel to animals and certainly harm human health. The rates of immune diseases are high in Europe and America, and the least of them are cardiovascular diseases and cancers. Abstaining from eating those meat in which cattle were brutally killed is really an ideal option for those who defend animal rights and become vegan. Certainly this meat causes diseases. The staphylococcal infections are serious, as they can infect the skin, infect the ears, nose and throat, and cause severe blood infections in which the death rate may reach 20%. Food poisoning, especially in patients with immunodeficiency. Some of the enzymes secreted by these germs have a high ability to resist heat and pass through the mucous membrane of the stomach. They do not wait to reach the large or small intestine, they cross through the stomach, and enter the blood and enter the rest of the body. These are toxins secreted by Staphylococcus bacteria. The toxins secreted by Staphylococcus bacteria are diverse and broad spectrum, from their ability to dissolve the blood to their ability to cause toxicity to the leukocytes that defend the body. One of the most famous was the study by Rebecca Smith, a member of FIFA, Vegetarians International Voice for Animals called VIVA, in which the dangers of the approved stunging methods were accurately and comprehensively explained. She explained that the majority of unconscious animals return to consciousness during bleeding before they die. Another research by Dr. Schultz from Hannover University, in Germany in the 70s of the last century confirmed that the pain detected by the EEG due to stunning cannot be compared to the Islamic slaughter that did not show any pain for the carcass. He added that the heart stopped more quickly. This leads to blood seeping into the flesh. A study was published by an international journal, ranked 17th in the world in the field of nutritional sciences, comparing Islamic slaughter halal zab and air injection in rabbits, and the study concluded the following. A calcium and glucose levels are significantly higher in the animal's blood after killing it by air, compared to killing it by Islamic slaughter. They are indicators of the animal's suffering during death. It has been scientifically proven that glucose increases when the body is stressed to meet the need resulting from the increase in the body's vital processes, while the animal is exposed to a severe influence. B liver enzymes are elevated after killing by air injection, compared to Islamic slaughter. It is also an indication that killing the animal in a non-Islamic way has caused severe cell damage and muscle exhaustion. C. The lactic acid in the animal after killing by air injection is higher than in Islamic slaughter. This is an indication of increased animal suffering and muscle exhaustion. D. The proportion of the emergency hormone adrenaline increased by 10 times in the non-Islamic way, while it only increased by 5 times in Islamic slaughter, meaning the difference is doubled. This is also an indication that halal slaughter is merciful compared to others. E. The quality of meat taken from animals killed by non-Islamic methods has decreased, as the glycogen decreased as a result of muscle exhaustion, as well as the efficiency of meat decreased. The study title: Influence of gas stunning and halal slaughter, no stunning on rabbits' welfare indicators and meat quality. You can check the links below in the description box. What if the animal was anesthetized before slaughtering it so that it would not be tortured? This is a study that shows that the animal loses sensation after Islamic slaughter within only 2 to 7 seconds, and the brain stops completely within 10 to 43 seconds. But when they anesthetized the animal before slaughtering it, thinking that they would have mercy on it, the brain stopped after 18 to 70 seconds. So slaughtering without anesthetizing the animal means with Islamic slaughter was more merciful. The study title: Electroencephalographic Studies of Stunning and Slaughter of Sheep and Calves, Part 1: The Onset of Permanent Insensibility in Sheep During Slaughter. And also, in another study, scientists found what confirms the foregoing loss of feeling in calves in 10 seconds through Islamic slaughter. Study title: Onset of Insensibility at Slaughter in Calves, Effects of Electroplectic Seizure, and Exsanguination on Spontaneous Electrocortical Activity and Indices of Cerebral Metabolism. Now, what about electrocution of calves? There are who stun an animal and then slaughter it because they think that by electrocuting the animal, he loses consciousness and then is slaughtered quickly, thus shortening a few seconds of the process of stopping the brain from Islamic slaughter, thinking that they are more merciful. But the surprise was, the studies proved the return of brain impulses after the shock, meaning that they doubled the animal's suffering by suffering from shock and then by slaughtering. Many of the stunned animals regained consciousness again, then they slaughtered them without attention, as if they had killed them twice. The study title: Assessment of Return to Consciousness After Electrical Stunning in Lambs. And another study shows that calves lose sensation if they are electrocuted within 34 seconds, as they regain consciousness, which is why they are tortured for a long time, so the Islamic slaughter is more merciful as well. Study title: Electroencephalographic studies of calves associated with electrical stunning, throat cutting and carcass electroimmobilization. However, the worst thing is, in another study, they found that some stun operations are done twice. Sometimes the first stun operation is not done efficiently, forcing them to stun the animal twice. Study source from Munich in Germany. I also put the link in the description box. Is this only? In another study comparing slaughtering without stunting and slaughtering after stunting an animal, it confirmed that of the modern Western massacres link blood loss and meat quality. However, most stun operations stop the animal's heart and thus reduce blood flow. This is unlike Islamic slaughter, where it is true that it cuts off the blood supply to the brain and quickly loses sense to the animal. But the heart remains beating and pumps blood, which increases the quality of meat in the Islamic slaughter compared to stun operations. This is because he lost a large amount of blood, up to 75% of the animal's blood, meaning that halal meat is the highest quality ever. B. As a result of the heavy blood loss in Islamic slaughter, hemoglobin is less, and thus the quality of halal meat increases, because hemoglobin is linked to increased fat oxidation, which causes a change in the meat's flavor and acquires an unpleasant smell, unlike Islamic meat, which loses the largest amount of blood and hemoglobin. C. Microbes in halal meat are the least in the case of slaughtering the animal on the Islamic way without stunting as a result of losing more blood than it. The study title is Bleeding Efficiency and Meat Oxidative Stability and Microbiological Quality of New Zealand White Rabbits Subjected to Halal Slaughter Without Stunning and Gas Stun Killing. Conclusion: according to scientific studies, the Islamic method of slaughter is the most merciful to animals, and that halal meat is the most high quality as a result of more blood loss and less animal suffering. Unlike other methods of stunning or stunning before slaughter, or air injection or anesthetizing the animal before slaughter. So what is the Islamic slaughter? What are the conditions for halal slaughter? In fact, Islam has laid down legal conditions for how to deal with the carcass before and after the slaughter. The Sharia prohibits feeding livestock on hormones or using chemicals in them, which makes them more suitable for public health. In addition to taking into account two basic factors in dealing with sacrifices, namely tasmiyah, spelling the name of Allah at the first time of slaughtering, and tathkiyah, purification, it disinfects and cleans the meat by making sure all the blood is removed from the carcass, limiting the ways in which bacteria can multiply. The researcher points out that the rapid slaughter method used in Islamic law ensures that the meat of the carcass is free of fear hormones that may be released by its body if the slaughter period is prolonged, adding that these hormones enter the human body and cause it to increase anxiety and tension rates. Among the conditions of halal slaughter for a Muslim that must be adhered to: 1. The capacity of the slaughterer, who can be a man or a woman. 2. Not showing the knife to the animal before it is toppled to the ground. 3. Not sharpening of the knife in front of it, or seeing other animals being slaughtered at the same time. 4. Hiding traces of blood from a previous slaughter, so that the animal does not die of terror twice. 5. Driving the carcass gently and lays it on its left incision on the ground gently, then directs the head of the carcass towards the Qibla. The Qibla of Muslims is Mecca. 6. Pronouncing the Basmala and making the sacrifice sound the takbir before slaughtering. 7. Slaughter with a sharp knife rapidly. Cut the throat, esophagus, and jugular, which are located in the neck of the animal, from the side of the throat. 8. Not limiting the movement of the carcass when the blood comes out, and in this way, it gives an opportunity for the blood to flow out, so that healthy and pure meat can be obtained. We all wonder about the feeling of the animal at the time of slaughter and bemoan its slaughter and suffer. We think it is in pain. Those who are hostile to Islamic slaughter see it as unmerciful. When they see the carcass, makes convulsions, shaking and kicking its feet. In fact, it is quite the opposite. The truth is, when applying Islamic halal slaughter, by cutting the arteries, veins, trachea and esophagus without separating the head. At this stage, the brain is cut off from blood and oxygen, and the animal falls into a coma and loses consciousness in a few seconds. The slaughtered animal remains unconscious and doesn't feel any pain. The pituitary gland, which is located in the brain of the animal, releases messages to the adrenal gland, which is located in the kidneys through the spinal cord, by secreting adrenaline in an attempt to speed up the pumping of blood to the brain. This leads to emptying the animal body of blood in minutes. The convulsions are reflexive reactions for more blood flow. For sure. According to scientific studies, the Islamic method of slaughter is the most merciful to animals or calves, and that halal meat is the most high quality as a result of more blood loss and less animal suffering. Unlike other methods of stunning or stunning before slaughter, air injection or anesthetizing the animal, all the blood and histological examinations were all for the benefit of takbir on the meat. The meat on which the takbir was recited is almost pure and clean from all contamination and from all traces of blood stains, germs and bacterial colonies. As for the meat that was slaughtered without uttering the takbir, they find that the blood and histological examinations and the images that were presented on this subject were infested and contaminated to a very large extent that cannot be neglected and cannot be overlooked. The secret is to say takbir at the time of slaughter. Islam has forbidden Muslims to eat the slaughtered animals on which the greatest name of Allah has not been mentioned, whether they died by electrocution or otherwise, because they are dead, carrion, and unclean cause of diseases, and forbidden blood, pig, and other unclean things that have been scientifically proven to be a great evil. In practice, the Messenger of Allah Muhammad, peace and prayers of Allah be upon him, taught us how to deal with a carcass before and after slaughter in order to benefit from its flesh without harm. When the beast hears the word of monotheism, so she is led by its body and blood to the effect of the words for the divine command. Allah created it and ordained the best way for its soul to leave, and the flow of its bloods to turn a pure food for the monotheistic Muslim. The beautiful thing is that the blood does not come out of an animal completely, and its body is not cleaned of it until it hears Tasmiyah Bismillah and the Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Halal Zabh has a great interest that protects our health and has mercy on the animal that was created to ride on it, drink its milk, eat its halal meat, and wear its wool and hair. So, science confirms religion, and you need science to voluntarily submit to Allah, Lord of the worlds, just like the beast by its sound instinct to takbir, because Allah is greater than everything. Abandon the confused who are hostile to monotheism and its people and to halal Zabh. In fact, they are escaping from the divine command. If God knew something good in them, He would have guided them. They are more astray than cattle. Animals know that they have a great Creator who deserves to be prostrated and submissive, and certainly He is more merciful to them than the confused who oppose this good word and have not yet been guided to their Creator, who deserves to be worshipped without others and to follow His right law. Unfortunately, those are only destroying themselves, and there is no good in them after they knew and didn't believe.
ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله